And Alaudinov has started a war. Lukashenko will be sent to court. A nuclear threat to Russia. A nuclear power plant has been attacked. Putin gave the military a dressing down over the air defense system. The State Duma and the Russian Orthodox Church have risen up against women. Volochkova embarrassed herself on stage. A Chinese knife in the back, and more. Hello everyone, this is Karina Klashen, and this is the V-Trendy program. I have collected a lot of interesting news for you, and believe me, we will have something to discuss with you today. So let's get started. Applause. Alaudinov declared war on the unwanted. A Kadyrovite has announced the start of purges among the Z-patriots who are engaging in so-called internet squabbles. In short, it's about informing on informers and on those same Z-patriots.
As a result, it turned out that the people who were doing this ended up under attack themselves. Now they have started to receive it step by step. Protocols for discreditation, then the materials were already sent on for direct extremism. Very soon, this machine will pick up such momentum that, of course, they will all be stunned. We haven't released most of the materials yet because we gave everyone 7 days to come to their senses, those who, as they say, still have brains. To delete all the filth from their channels and to apologize for what they've already written. As for those who don't do this, we said that, of course, we will destroy them in the legal field through criminal prosecution. And
all this is because even Russian war correspondents are starting to express outrage at the decisions of the command, Russian losses at the front, and so on. This also includes the scandal with Operation Truba in the Sumy region, which I mentioned earlier. After all, half of the Russian soldiers didn't even have time to get out of the pipe before they were already destroyed. There's also the scandal with Pokrovsk, which Fedor told you about yesterday on our broadcast. The video of the soldiers entering Pokrovsk spread rapidly across the internet as if to say, it's a victory. Because the Ukrainian military figured out the location and took out all the participants of this Mad Max roleplay. Russian war correspondents are outraged at every failure, but in Russia, as you know, it's forbidden to be outraged. You have to only rejoice and praise Putin. The longer this so-called special military operation drags on, the murkier its goals become, and the more questions the Z supporters have for the authorities. They've started to use their brains. So Lapati decided to threaten everyone and act preemptively, warning anyone who speaks out with criminal charges. Looks like he's preparing for even greater losses. By the way, the commander of Akhmat has already boasted that he made the professional informant Ilya Remeslo apologize and delete similar content.
so now it turns out that Ilya Remeslo has come to us. And aid, it seems, reconciled them with Grubnik. They also sincerely apologized to each other, shook hands, made peace, cleaned up their channels, and then started working together to basically put an end to this whole ongoing mess of slinging mud at each other. It was an important step forward in resolving their differences and moving on from the conflict.
I went to see the respected Abturon Alaudinov, the commander of the legendary Akhmat Special Forces. We met and discussed various topics, ranging from interethnic relations to the unity of our people, the civil unity that our president constantly calls for. Abturonovich has accomplished a great deal. Abturonovich has managed to reconcile, it would seem, many irreconcilable people, myself included.
Because the truth in Russia should not seep into the media, because Putin doesn't want to stop anything or end up disgraced. That's why everyone must worship the dictator and believe in the truth broadcast by the Kremlin. Congratulations, Russians! You are confidently turning into North Korea. Soon you'll be singing songs of worship to Putin at dawn. Putin himself is very angry with his military. It seems the situation is out of control. I've already mentioned before how angry he is with Gerasimov. After all, Donbas still hasn't been captured quickly. But today, he's also worried about the attacks on ports and oil refineries. Because problems with oil and gasoline are growing very quickly. As Russian media report, Putin doesn't understand how it happened that the military missed the strike on Novorossiysk, including the oil terminal. After all, the consequences there are serious. And this really worries Putin, saying that the air defense should be working.
Vladimir Vladimirovich doesn't understand one thing. The day before, he demanded that the military tell him when the enemy's successful strikes on our oil facilities would stop. And immediately after such a shelling with such losses, a strike was missed. You know, the president's patience might just run out. The military must do a better job of protecting important facilities. I hope they finally understand this.
They say that if something like this happens again, there will be serious personnel changes. And it will happen again. And after the strike on the Orsk oil refinery, Putin really gave everyone a dressing down. You see, he's unhappy that he's being hit with his own weapons. After all, yet another oil refinery has been shut down.
Today during the day, Putin demanded that Belousov give concrete deadlines for when our oil refineries will be protected. Sources say that the president was extremely irritated. He did not expect that something like this could go on for so long.
So, what was supposed to be a leisurely stroll through Ukraine and the capture of Kyiv in 2 to 3 days has turned into a retaliatory destruction of Russia's energy sector. Putin clearly did not expect this, as people say they picked the wrong ones to attack. I know that many of you are watching us from outside Ukraine, and I'm curious, from which country are you watching this video? I know there are a lot of people here from Europe and even from Russia. Do you support the Russian Federation? Or are you one of the reasonable ones? Write in the comments, it would be interesting to know where you're watching from and your opinion about what's happening. A nuclear power is now itself under nuclear threat. Yes, now there is a real nuclear threat for Russia. After Ukraine attacked Russian energy infrastructure in response to Russian shelling, several power units at the Novovoronezh nuclear power plant were disconnected from the grid. According to the head of Rosatom, all of this was the result of an attack by Ukrainian drones. Drone debris damaged electrical equipment at the Novovoronezh nuclear power plant. This was also confirmed by the governor of the Voronezh region.
On-duty air defense forces and electronic warfare systems destroyed and suppressed 8 unmanned aerial vehicles over Novovoronezh at that time. When the debris from one of them fell, it damaged electrical equipment near the plant.
However, they did not specify why they are shooting down and suppressing drones over the plant. After all, the nuclear power plant is not a target for the Ukrainian military. The drone was just flying by. So it turns out they're creating problems for themselves. Meanwhile, as it turns out, the US conducted successful tests of the B-61-12 thermonuclear bomb in August. This is the same model that, according to media reports, was secretly deployed at the British Lakenheath base this summer. An unarmed B-61-12 was dropped by F-35 fighter jets at the Tonopah test range in Nevada. The Sandia National Laboratories stated that the test confirmed the complete reliability of the aircraft, crew, and weapon system under mission conditions. In October, Trump instructed the Pentagon to begin new nuclear tests due to the actions of other countries. And last night he announced that they would begin very soon. When asked whether an actual nuclear explosion would take place, Trump refused to answer. And what do you think? Will it happen or not? Share your opinion in the comments. The Russian Orthodox Church never ceases to amaze me. They are doing an excellent job following the family values playbook. For example, Archpriest Evgeny Popechenko stated that a woman's role in the family is to be a domestic fairy. Therefore, there can be no talk of a career.
What is said about a woman, what are her roles, that is, her God-given, natural and inherent abilities and qualities. These abilities are considered to be, first and foremost, to be a wife, a loving and devoted mother, a domestic fairy, and the mistress of the house, the one who manages and cares for the home. And in wise books, in the writings of philosophers and thinkers, there is this term, it's figurative, to be a goddess. But we don't give it any religious meaning or spiritual connotation. Rather, it's the understanding, the idea that a woman has the unique ability to make another person truly happy, to bring joy and comfort to the lives of those around her, to inspire happiness in others through her presence and actions. A woman should not work. A woman can work if she wants to, in her free time, outside of her happy family life. Her duty is to create happiness within the family. That's what she'll be held accountable for. That's what nourishes her.
Ladies, tell me in the comments, do you feel nourished by family happiness? Do you want to always stay at home instead of developing yourself or building a career? And not go against the nature of men? I hear a lot of such statements, and I'm curious to know what the female part of the audience thinks about this. Write your thoughts, let's continue our dialogue in the comments. Women are also a problem for deputies in the State Duma. There, they discussed an initiative about joint parenting after divorce. But the discussion led to the conclusion that Russians don't want to fight precisely because of being raised by women. That's exactly what Dmitry Kuznetsov stated.
It's amazing that children, then run to upper laws. They have a feminine behavioral model. They grew up with their mother. That's normal. I'm not even judging them. They saw a feminine behavioral model. That's why, in a critical situation, they don't go to defend the country. They don't go to defend their family. They, hide. I'm done. We need to change this. Russia is in trouble. We're dying out.
The deputy called for this situation to be changed. Kuznetsov, for example, cites Chechnya, where courts more often leave the child with the father, and according to him, there are no problems with fatherly upbringing at all. Friends, what do you think about this? Write your opinion in the comments. You know, I'm always in touch and I count everything. And of course, I reply to you there. So I'll be waiting. And don't forget to like this video. This small action from you is a big support for the entire In Trend team. Cheburashka is Jewish. That's exactly what was stated in the State Duma. This conclusion was reached by Andrei Makarov, head of the Committee on Budget and Taxes. He stated that Israel was the only country supplying oranges to the USSR. It was in just such a crate of citrus fruits that Cheburashka was found.
Well, the all-Russian contest native toy. Evgeny Ivanovich, are you against the native toy?
Not at all. I'm all for it. No foreign knockoffs, just our matryoshkas. Well?
All right, maybe we should take a step forward from the matryoshka. But what about Cheburashka? Is he allowed? Do you remember where in the Soviet Union there was only one country from which oranges were imported? They were imported from Israel. So Cheburashka is Jewish? After all, he came from there in a barrel of oranges. He's from abroad, after all. Remember how it was in the cartoon? First of all, there were tangerines in Afghanistan. He arrived in a crate of oranges. And you can check about the oranges. Spanish ones never came to us.
Rangidor, the consul general of the Israeli embassy in St. Petersburg, decided to respond to this. He stated that to call Cheburashka a Jew, you need to check if he's circumcised and make sure he doesn't eat pork. I don't understand why they're making such a fuss over this Cheburashka. Meanwhile, systematic work is underway to prepare a tribunal against Lukashenko. In Europe, there are demands for the illegitimate president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, to face a tribunal as one of those responsible for the migration crisis in the EU. Thus, the parliaments of European countries issued a joint written statement in which they set out this and a number of other demands to the Republic and its leader. In particular, the European Union is convinced that it is now necessary to impose sanctions against airlines involved in transporting migrants to Belarus. As former Belarusian Minister of Culture Pavel Latushko stated, Lukashenko is a common enemy for both Belarusians and Ukrainians. And the National Anti-Crisis Management is already beginning work on the tribunal.
I would like to announce that these very days the National Anti-Crisis Management is beginning work on documenting and compiling evidence of the crime of aggression committed by the so-called military political leadership of the Lukashenko regime against Ukraine. This work will be carried out according to the standards of international criminal law, with the aim of further using the evidence in legal proceedings, within the framework of a special tribunal for accountability for aggression against Ukraine. As a member of the Coordination Council, I initiated an amendment to the relevant resolution of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe, stating that the so-called supreme military political leadership of Belarus bears responsibility for the act of aggression. And this amendment was unanimously adopted during the session of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe in Strasbourg. We cannot forget that Lukashenko provided the territory of Belarus for the attack on Ukraine. And as a result, the tragic events in Bucha, Irpin, and other places in the Kiev region occurred. It was with Lukashenko's consent that Russian missiles flew into Ukraine. And he will be held accountable for this.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Meanwhile, Volochkova is back on stage. She decided to show that alcoholism doesn't stop her from dancing incredibly on stage in point shoes. But for some reason, the choreography of Russia's self-proclaimed great ballerina wasn't appreciated. I wonder why. Neither the dancing nor the auto industry inspires much excitement among Russians. In Russia, they unveiled the new Lada Niva Sport, which turned out to be rusty and crooked straight from the factory. This kind of sports car even costs 1.7 million rubles. And right in the cabin, it's leaking antifreeze.
Niva, please, I'm begging you. Tell me I just imagined that. Tell me that's not yours. 30 kilometers on the odometer.
But Russians keep buying Chinese cars. And here too, there's a catch. Here's a Chinese knife in the back for you. A Chinese person marked the cars being sent to Russia. After all, Russians are being sent junk that the Chinese themselves only keep as spares. They don't buy them. In
Russia, Chinese cars are sold with a huge markup. A Chinese person was shocked when he saw the prices for Sherry cars.
What do you mean, 4 frames? Here, that's considered junk. It's already considered like a Ziguli here. Go study up. I'd say it's a car just for hauling cabbage. But even in the village, no one would buy something like that.
The Tiggo 7, which is popular in Russia, can be bought for 75,000 yuan.
Now this car is really just for hauling cabbage.
The 5-meter flagship Tiggo 9, which is marketed here as a premium car, costs
130,000 yuan.
They're dumping junk on Russians that the Chinese themselves don't want. And with the new recycling fee, these prices will go up even more.